Now.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for the news at noon. I'm Tosin Fakile in for Mark Hall. Could we see rain or storms later today? I'm hoping not, but let's ask meteorologist Damon Matson as he joins us for the latest check on the forecast. So Damon, a break from the rain today?
We need it, Tosin, right? I mean, did you see that light show last night?
It was putting on a great show last night.
Yeah, those storms, they were a little bit later than what we had for earlier in the week. Monday storms were right during that peak of the evening commute. Yesterday, it took a little bit of time, but they arrived and they packed a punch. Now, certain parts of the DMV were spared, even though we did have a lot of lightning and some of that torrential rain. The DC metro area, not really seeing any storm reports, but the minute you went out to the west, parts of Northern Virginia were hammered as we had multiple flooding reports. There is actually still some creeks and streams above their banks in Prince William, Fauquier counties. That's where the highest concentration of flood reports came in. And then we did have some lightning and wind damage reports as you drifted up across north central Maryland. But there's that bullseye, over 2+ inches of rain through the heart of Fauquier County, drifting over toward the Manassas area. That is where the most flooding and the most torrential rain took place. But there was still a decent dose of rain mixed in with all of those storms as they worked through during the first half of the overnight hours. Now, we have kicked out those storms and the heavy rainfall so far here today, and in its place, it's all about heat and humidity. We have a heat advisory in place until 8 p.m. here in the orange. It covers the heart of the DMV, and we are expecting to have heat index values up to 105, especially the more east that you go into parts of the district and along the I-95 corridor. So we'll talk more about how long this heat is expected to last. Could it linger into Friday? And yes, will there be any showers and storms mixed in with all this heat and humidity? We'll have a full look at your forecast coming up here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. And that severe weather you heard Damon talking about, you see it right there. It hit our region quite hard yesterday. Many people seeing heavy rain and lots of lightning, even hail in some places. The storms also brought down some trees in Northern Virginia. The Maryland man who was wrongly deported under the Trump administration is staying in jail a bit longer. Kilmar Abrego Garcia went before a judge in a Tennessee courtroom yesterday. He's facing smuggling charges. DC News Now's Yamari Sase shares more on what we're learning on how much longer he could be behind bars.
Yeah, so that U.S. District Judge says he just needs more time to really review the evidence in this 2022 traffic stop that took place in Tennessee. And when it comes to his family members, lawyers, and loved ones, they're just going to have to wait a little bit longer, but there's still a lot at stake. Now, you'll remember Abrego Garcia was deported to El Salvador earlier this year despite an immigration order preventing just that. Now, the Trump administration says it was an administrative error, and months later, after pressure and the U.S. Supreme Court order, he was finally returned to the U.S., but he's now facing human smuggling charges from that 2022 traffic stop in Tennessee. Abrego Garcia's attorney says the case is built on shaky testimony from witnesses who got immigration or legal help in exchange. And on Wednesday, a Homeland Security agent admitted he didn't know one witness was actually calling others from the jail and confirmed the three were all related. He said, quote, "That's always a possibility," when they asked him if they could have coordinated their stories.
We're in a difficult moment where we're even seeing two different courts in two different jurisdictions really try to make sense about what the federal government's intentions are. Neither side has been able to clearly, despite mandating responses from them, neither side has been really able to get clarification on what their intentions are with Kilmar Abrego Garcia when he is released from custody.
Now his lawyer does have concerns about him being deported back to El Salvador if the Tennessee judge does grant his release. Reporting in Greenbelt, Maryland, I'm Yamari Sase, DC News Now.
Yamari, thank you. And in Maryland, 3 accused MS-13 gang members have been charged with conspiracy in the murder of a homeless man in Prince George's County. The U.S. Attorney's Office says the suspects brutally beat and stabbed the man to death on July 4th last year. They say his body was left in a minivan parked in a used car lot in Hyattsville. A suspect claimed he was acting in self-defense. All 3 are facing conspiracy murder charges and, if convicted, could face life in prison. New today, Montgomery County Police investigating a shooting in Germantown. They say 2 teens were shot. It happened last night on Shady Side Way. The teens were taken to the hospital and are expected to be okay. Police say a suspect is in custody. And D.C. police say they're looking for nearly 20 teenagers after a woman was stabbed Tuesday night. It happened on 13th Street in Northwest outside an apartment complex. The victim told police the group approached her and her sister to start a fight. They say 4 of them attacked and stabbed her before running off. The victim was taken to the hospital for her injuries. Also new today, D.C. Fire and EMS pulled a person from a car in the Potomac River overnight. This was the scene in Northwest D.C. They say a car fell into the river near the Roosevelt Bridge at about 11 last night. That driver of the vehicle was able to get out and is expected to be okay. Crews now investigating how that car ended up in the river. Taking a live look at the U.S. Capitol, it's where Capitol Police say they stopped an unusual vehicle today. They say a bow, arrow, and an empty gun holster were inside the car and a tricycle strapped to its roof. The driver was found just outside. This happened yesterday. The driver was found just outside the Capitol's north barricade. They admitted to having guns in the car. Officials say charges are pending. Now, for years, President Donald Trump pointed to the existence of a Jeffrey Epstein client list. Now, he's turning against his supporters who continue to call for the release of those details. He says Democrats are using his MAGA base. Take a listen.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
Now, earlier this year, Attorney General Pam Bondi said she was reviewing the Epstein files for release. But now the DOJ and FBI say no more details will be made available to the public. In a recent CNN poll, it found almost 50% of those surveyed say they're not satisfied with the amount of information that's been released. A warning about how China could be arming itself. It's coming from Virginia Senator Mark Warner. He spoke with our partners at The Hill about China's competitiveness and advancements the country is working on, including some advancements, he says, to the military.
The things keeps him up at night is you combine bio and AI. China literally now is experimenting on humans to create super soldiers. It's right out of a science fiction film, but it is a reality today.
Now, Warner did not say what those human enhancements look like or where that information is coming from. That conversation happened during the Hill Nation Summit hosted by our partners at The Hill and News Nation. Well, getting through security for your next flight could soon be easier. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says travelers could see more changes in the TSA line. Earlier this month, a new policy came out that people could now keep their shoes on while going through TSA checkpoints.
I will tell you, the liquids, I'm questioning, so that may be the next big announcement is what size your liquids need to be.
Noem also talking about the vision for future airports. They're considering technology to scan passengers while they hold their carry-on bags. Now in Virginia, changes could be on the way to Dulles International Airport. Metropolitan Washington Airport's Authority Board of Directors approved updates to the decades-old master plan. Development plans would stretch over the next several decades, including new concourses, parking garages connected to the main terminal, a 5th runway, and more. That board-approved update heads to the FAA for approval. Well, when you think of pricey cities to live in, New York, Los Angeles, Boston, even D.C. comes to mind. Well, now you can also add Northern Virginia to that list. A new report shows the median rent in Northern Virginia is among the highest in the country. D.C. News Now's Max Marcilla with more on what's driving up cost.
Here's some news for everyone living in one of these apartments in Arlington.
It is a very, very expensive rent.
Everyone living here already knows that. Now we have numbers to back it up. It's expensive. So expensive, a new report from ApartmentList.com finds Arlington is only behind 4 California cities when it comes to median rent, ranking 5th out of the country's 100 largest cities at more than $2,600 a month. DC ranks 13th.
What's your reaction to that?
I'm surprised.
The Pentagon's right here, Amazon HQ2's here. There's a lot around the neighborhood, so yes and no.
So mixed reaction, but undoubtedly one goal.
I guess the purpose of this story is to lower rents, right? We like that.
Well, who wouldn't like that? But the question is, how to actually do it. So we put that question to Arlington County Board Chair Takis Karantonis.
It is a supply-starved market, so the answer is supply.
Karantonis says 63% of Arlingtonians are renters, and times of economic uncertainty makes building new housing quickly tough.
We're investing a lot of money, a lot of policy assets into trying to rebalance the housing market.
Short term, he says that looks like housing grants and rental support, but that won't help in the long term. He hopes the county's missing middle plan is an answer, but it's stuck in the courts and has been the source of plenty of opposition.
Places where, for example, you could only build a single household home, now you can build more households.
Here's more of that bad news, though. Broker Will Wyatt doesn't think this trend will reverse, citing Amazon's impact and a secondary market lagging behind private sector rentals.
Overall, there is a squeeze, and we're seeing that now, where I think we're going to see that for the foreseeable future with where rents are, and we think that rents are forecasted to increase over time.
Reporting in Arlington, Max Marcilla, DC News Now.
In Maryland, small business and tech communities expressing anxiety over a new technology tax. The 3% levy is for things like streaming support, software design and development, server hosting, and other tech support services. The tax is projected to raise $500 million to help close the state of Maryland's $3.3 billion deficit. Officials say the largest source of that revenue is the for the state is its sales tax, which they say is approaching $6 billion a year. And still to come on your news at noon, Prince George's County making sure flooding doesn't take over parts of the area. After the break, we're taking a closer look at money being sent to help. But first, Damon, I hope we get a break from what we've been dealing with all week.
Seriously, Tosa, we've already had sections of the DMV dealing with flooding this week. Could we finally be out of the woods, or will there be more heavy rain before the week is done? We'll have a full forecast after the break.
And you're watching DC News Now at noon. Stick around. We're back with more. Oh, you're taking a look at the pandas. That's a state I want to be in right now. Relaxed. That's so nice to see. All right, we have more weather coming up. Hopefully the pandas get less heat. We know they don't like it. Meteorologist Damon Matson's back in just a bit.